Hey, it's Sherry. Tonight's letter doesn't start with red lipstick or a hotel bed. It starts with one decision. Tonight, I'm not hiding this anymore. And what happens when you finally show the part of yourself you've been most ashamed of to someone who looks at it completely differently? When my scar finally felt beautiful. Dear Sherry, you once said on the podcast that some nights don't begin with lipstick and lace, but with a decision. Tonight, I'm not going to hide. This was that night. I have a long, pale scar running across my stomach, the kind you don't get from, I fell off a bike once, but from, my body almost gave up on me and surgeons had to argue with death. For 2 years, I lived like my scar was a crime scene I had to hide. Lights off, t-shirts on, hands gently moved away when they wandered too far under the fabric. You're beautiful, men said. Yes, but not there, I always thought. Then my best friend bought me a ticket to something called Midnight in the Glasshouse, an after-hours event in the city botanical garden. Jazz, candle lanterns, prosecco. The kind of thing couples go to so they can hold hands and pretend they're in a movie. She put the ticket in my palm and said, "Go, alone. Take your scar on a date." So I did. The glass house at night looked like a ship made of light. Warm air, foggy windows, plants breathing in the dark. I wore a simple black dress that skimmed my body rather than hiding it. I didn't feel brave, just tired of telling my stomach it was something to be ashamed of. Under the dress, the scar tingled like it knew tonight was about it. Inside, everything was humid and green. Tiny fairy lights wrapped around branches. Jazz hummed low from speakers hidden among the leaves. People moved between the palms with little glasses of sparkling wine, laughing quietly as if the plants were listening. I walked alone, fingers brushing the labels, names that sounded like spells. That's when I heard it. "You know," a voice said beside me, warm and amused, "that one is a terrible liar." I turned. A man, maybe around 40, stood there holding a tray with empty glasses. Dark skin, dark eyes, a staff lanyard hanging from his neck. His shirt sleeves were rolled up, forearms dusted with soil. He nodded at the label. "It says fast growing. It's been sulking in that pot for months." I laughed, a short, surprised sound. Maybe it just needs encouragement. He smiled, that slow, unhurried smile some people have, like they're not in a rush to give it away. "Maybe it needs someone to stop staring at the label and actually look at it," he said. "I'm Arun." I told him my name. He offered me a fresh glass from his tray, then gestured toward the path. "Come on, I'll show you the plants that tell the truth." I followed him between giant leaves that brushed my shoulders like soft hands. He talked as we walked, not like a guide ticking off facts, more like someone introducing me to old friends. "This one only blooms at night. This one looks dangerous, but it's the gentlest thing here. This one was nearly thrown away before we nursed her back from a single green leaf." I listened, sipping my drink, feeling the air settle around us like warm water. At some point, his hand brushed my bare arm as he pointed up to a cluster of white, hanging flowers. Just that, skin against skin, an accident. But my body lit up like someone had struck a match inside me. It had been a long time since a simple touch felt like that. Not hungry, not rushed, just awake. He didn't rush to fill the silence. We just stood there for a moment under the ghostly flowers. Then he glanced at my dress, not in a hungry way, more like he'd noticed how carefully I held myself. "You look like you're here, but also like you're ready to run," he said gently. I laughed, but it sounded thin. "I've had a year." He tilted his head. "Do the plants know?" "Plants?" He nodded. "They're very good at keeping secrets." Something about that made my eyes sting. I shook my head, swallowing it back. "I had surgery," I said finally. "A big one. They saved my life, but they wrote it across my stomach in capital letters." I watched his face carefully, waiting for the polite flinch, the quick, "I'm sorry," the look away. It didn't come. Instead, he looked straight into my eyes, not down at my body, not at the spot where the scar hid, just at me. "And now?" he asked softly. "Now I wear dresses that don't show it. I prefer the lights off. I pretend I'm fine." I laughed once. "And I bring my scar on dates to botanical gardens, apparently." Arun's smile this time was small and serious. "You know what scars mean to plants?" he asked. I shook my head. "It means something tried to kill me and didn't. It means I grew anyway." My throat felt tight. Nobody had ever called it that. "Still," I said quietly, "it's not pretty." He looked past me for a second, at the jungle of leaves behind my shoulder. "Some nights," he said, "pretty is so boring. Tonight feels more like a night for the truth." Just then, a woman's voice echoed through the glasshouse. "Ladies and gentlemen, we're closing in 10 minutes. Please make your way to the exit." People started drifting toward the doors. The lights dimmed even more. Arun exhaled. "I still have to clear the back section. Come with me?" I don't know why I said yes. Maybe because his voice felt like warm soil. Maybe because for the first time in 2 years, I wanted to be seen instead of erased. We walked to the far end, where the ceiling dipped low and the glass steamed up completely. It felt like stepping into someone's breath. I helped him pick up empty glasses from little tables hidden among the plants. Every time we reached for the same glass, our fingers brushed. Each touch wrote a small, electric line along my skin. By the time we finished, the garden was nearly empty. Only the hum of the heaters and the soft drip of water remained. We walked back toward the main doors and found them closed, really closed. He tried the handle, laughed quietly, then checked his watch. "They've locked the guest doors already," he said. "The night guard must think I'm out. We'll have to go through the service corridor." Something in my chest fluttered. Service corridor, small space, him and me. My heart pounded harder than it had the day they wheeled me into surgery. He led us behind a tall row of palms, through a narrow door I hadn't noticed before. Inside, the world changed. No music, no fairy lights, just a narrow, steamy corridor running alongside the glasshouse, lit by a strip of tired neon. Water pipes hummed. The glass on our left was fogged. Through it, we saw only dark green shadows. Arun closed the door behind us. The sound echoed. We were suddenly very alone. In the half-light, he looked different, less like a charming guide, more like a man at the end of a very long day. A small curl of hair had escaped onto his forehead. There was a smear of soil on his wrist, right where his pulse beat. He noticed me looking and smiled, a little sheepish. "Glamorous, I know," he said. I shook my head. I like it. Feels honest. He leaned his shoulder against the wall, leaving just an arm's length between us. Not close enough to crowd, not far enough to ignore. For a moment, we just listened to the muffled world on the other side of the glass. "Does it hurt?" he asked softly. "Your scar?" "Sometimes," I admitted. "Mostly when I pretend it's not there, or when I almost let someone see it and then panic and push their hand away." He nodded slowly, as if he knew that exact kind of ache. "Can I ask you something honest?" he said. "Yes." "Is it them you don't trust?" His gaze dropped briefly to my stomach, then came right back to my eyes. "Or your own body?" The question hit me like warm rain. "My body betrayed me," I said. "It failed. It opened. It broke." He shook his head gently. "Your body survived." I swallowed. "That's not how I've been telling the story." "Maybe it's time for a new version," he said. "One where the scar is the proof you stayed." Silence fell again, thick and throbbing. Then I heard myself ask, barely above a whisper, "What if I let someone see it?" Arun didn't move, didn't lunge or close the distance. He just held my gaze. "Then I hope," he said slowly, "they look at it like proof of your courage, not a flaw. And if they don't, then they don't get to touch you. Anywhere." Heat rose behind my eyes again. "Would you?" My voice shook. "Would you look at it?" There it was, the question I'd been afraid to even think. He went very still, as if the air itself had asked him to be gentle. "Only if you truly want that," he said. "Not because you think you owe me anything for a tour and a glass of Prosecco. Not because you feel guilty for surviving." There was something so fiercely respectful in his voice, it made my decision for me. I nodded. "I want to stop being afraid of my own skin," I said. "Just for tonight. Just to see if I can." My hands trembled as I reached for the hem of my dress. Not to strip, not in some movie sexy way, but like a woman who's opening a door she hasn't touched since the fire. I lifted the fabric slowly, just enough for the neon light to catch the pale line across my stomach. Thick, curved, still slightly raised. My breath came shallow. I couldn't look at it. I looked at him instead. Arun's eyes dropped to the scar, then back up. No flinch, no pity. Just a slow, achingly tender exhale. "God," he murmured, almost to himself. "That is brave." He didn't reach for me. He didn't crowd. He just lifted his hand halfway, fingers open. "May I?" "Yes," I whispered. His fingertips touched the skin at the edge of the scar, not the scar itself at first, as if he were greeting the skin that had worked so hard to hold me together. His touch was warm, careful, as if he were afraid of waking something too fast. Then, slowly, he traced along the line, not pressing, just following it like you follow a sentence with your finger in a book. My whole body shivered, my knees went soft, my breath caught halfway in my chest. A slow heat ran up my spine like someone was turning the lights back on inside me, one by one. "Nobody has touched it like that," I whispered. He looked up at me, still tracing lightly. "Like what?" "Like it's allowed." His expression softened, something raw and protective flickering there. "It's not just allowed," he said quietly. You lived through hell for that line. Your body earned gentle hands. Heat rushed through me, low and deep, the corridor, the fogged glass, the hum of the pipes. Everything narrowed down to the path his fingers drew across my skin and the way my chest rose and fell. I let the dress fall back down, not because I was ashamed, but because I suddenly wanted his hands somewhere else too. We looked at each other in the neon half-light. I stepped closer, just a little. Our bodies weren't quite touching, but everything between us buzzed. Arun, I said, my voice a hoarse whisper. If you kiss me right now, I don't think I'll remember how to be afraid. He made a small sound in his throat, something between a laugh and a groan. Then we should probably test that, he murmured. He leaned in slowly, giving me all the time in the world to change my mind. I didn't. When his mouth met mine, it wasn't careful. It was reverent. One of his hands settled at the small of my back, anchoring me. The other slid up my side, over fabric this time, as if he'd made an unspoken decision to treat the scar like any other part of me. Important, but not my only feature. I rose onto my toes. The corridor tilted. Everything, every nerve, rushed toward that kiss. Slow, deep, the kind that says, I see all the roads you've taken to get here. My body responded with a hunger that surprised me. Not wild and reckless, but bright and sure. I wasn't broken. I wasn't delicate glass. I was here, alive, wanting. When we finally broke apart, we were both breathing hard. Our foreheads rested together, the world still gently humming around us. For the record, he said, his voice low, you are devastating, scar and all. I laughed, shaky and half disbelieving and completely lit up from the inside. For the record, I replied, I think my scar just had a better date than I've had in years. We found the night guard eventually. We walked out through a side gate, the city cool and dark around us. At the exit, I hesitated. This is the part where we say it was nice and pretend we'll bump into each other by accident in a city of 8 million people, I said. Or, he replied, this is the part where you put your number in my phone and we plan a second date that doesn't involve being locked in with plants. He handed me his phone. I typed my number in with hands that still trembled pleasantly. Before I left, he looked at me, more serious now. Hey, he said, just so you know, even if you never saw me again, that scar would still be a miracle. Tonight didn't fix you. You were never broken. I nodded, throat tight. I know, I said, but tonight reminded me. Sherry. That was 3 months ago. We've had many dates since, some soft and simple, some that would probably make your microphone blush. Sometimes, when we're tangled up in my bed, he'll pause, kiss the scar once, very gently, and murmur, "Thank you for staying." And every time something inside me loosens, like another old fear finally letting go. I wanted to share this night with you because so many of your letters are about heartbreak, about leaving, about starting again. Mine is about staying. Staying in your body. Staying with your scars. Staying long enough to let someone see the part you've hidden and hearing them say, "This too is beautiful." If you read this on the podcast, maybe some woman lying in the dark, tracing a line on her skin and calling it ugly, will hear it and think, what if this is my proof of courage, not my ruin? And maybe one night, she'll go somewhere warm and green and she'll decide to stop hiding from herself. That's all passion really is, I'm starting to think. Not perfection, not smooth, untouched skin, just two people meeting in the honest place where nothing is hidden anymore and still choosing to stay. With love, a woman who is finally learning to touch her own scars kindly. Maybe you're listening to this with the lights off, fingers resting on a scar, a stretch mark, a place you don't show. If so, take this as a little whisper. There is nothing wrong with being a map of what you've lived through. When you're ready to share your own story of not hiding anymore, you know where to find me. I'm Sherry Pearl. This is Dust of Passion. Subscribe so you don't miss the next letter waiting in the dark for you.